Hello, NWA wrestling fans. This is J Cal's View. I'm J Cal. And this is still the journey of a journalist. This is still the guy who pontificates about pro wrestling. But I've got some questions, and that's why we're hashtagging Talk NWA. That's why we're talking about the National Wrestling Alliance. The big news this week, obviously, many of you heard Billy Corgan on the 10 Pounds of Gold YouTube series announced that the NWA has returned or will be returning to studio television. Now, this is big news for a lot of you, but some of us in the know have known about this for a while. Some of the people who are inside, because I'm certainly not an insider. I'm just a guy who tries to get scoops and does slants. So here's my slant on this. Here's my scoop on this. The NWA being on television, number one, first and foremost, is great. Okay, let's not take away from what this means. This is a huge moment for the NWA. This is a huge moment for Billy Corgan, David Lagana, and anybody who will be involved with the promotion and direction of this show. But what do we know about the show? Not a whole lot. We know that the first shows should be taped September 30th and October 1st, and according to my calendar, September 30th is a Monday, and October 1st would be a Tuesday. So we know that the show will be filmed live in a studio in Atlanta, Hotlanta, if you nasty. But the big topic is who will be a part of this NWA? Where is this talent coming from? More importantly, did the NWA really leave studio TV? Now, let's talk about studio television wrestling. First and foremost, Jim Crockett Promotions perfected the art back in the late 70s, early 80s, obviously with its programs, Saturday Night and Main Event. And if you're like me and grew up on the NWA, you're probably very familiar with these shows. In more recent years, Championship Wrestling from Hollywood has done its best to emulate that style from Jim Crockett Promotions. If you've been a longtime fan of Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, whether it was in the Glendale Studios, at the Regent Showcase Theater in Hollywood, or the Ocean View Pavilion in Port Hueneme, California, Championship Wrestling from Hollywood has always tried to take that studio vibe with Gordon Soley and Tony Schiavone and the cast of announcers that have been with the NWA throughout the years and have tried to emulate that style. The NWA has been synonymous with studio wrestling. I heard Billy Corgan say that they were going to do this. It was going to be more in your face and better than what anyone else has done. But to be honest, I don't know how much better you can do with studio TV than what Championship Wrestling from Hollywood's done. Now, granted, the talent level that is being talked about or being speculated about by the fans is kind of greater than what Championship Wrestling from Hollywood is using. But remember, guys like Eli Drake came from Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, Scorpio Sky, Adam Pearce, Colt Cabana, Pretty Peter Avalon, guys who can actually talk on the mic and can command an audience. Certainly should garner some attention for that brand. But I guess what we need to be talking about is who will be showcased in the NWA program. But before we get to that, this isn't news, guys. This isn't news. Since day one, the NWA has talked about returning to this style of programming. They've talked about getting television. In fact, here's an audio clip from at the Crockett Cup where Billy Corgan says exactly that.
NWA TV title, 8 plans.
First, you have to have television. We're also still trying to figure out what we're going to do as far as broadcasting. We are definitely going to start doing episodic television in the fall. So whenever we do, it'll have some relationship to whether it'll be like the kickoff or the blow-off for us doing TV.
So, I mean, you can see this has been in the works for some time. This was already being talked about and has been talked about for a while. Now, the question is, what talent is available to join on this project? Who will be considered NWA? Now, obviously, our world's heavyweight champion, Nick Aldis, is all in, part of the pun. We also have our national champion, James Storm, the bearded outlaw. That's still not my favorite nickname. Eli Drake has signed a deal to be exclusive to the NWA, or not exclusive, at least he is officially with the NWA. And then one would imagine that Sienna, the women's world champion, would be involved. But then who? Now, I have to think, and obviously I'm not an insider. I don't have a phone call. I don't have a red phone that goes directly to Billy Corgan. And, you know, Dave Lagana isn't really sharing any scoops with me. So, first and foremost, you have to imagine the Ring of Honor talent is out. The relationship officially ended a couple of weeks ago. They wrapped up their deal with Ring of Honor. Unfortunately, the villains still are the NWA World Tag Team Champions, although the belts have not been defended. One could make the argument that they should be stripped right off the bat. The titles haven't been defended in 30 days. In most wrestling promotions, that's the rule. If you don't defend the title in 30 days, you get stripped. So, PCO, Brody King, as much as I love them, I don't think they'll be appearing on the television program, as well as Marty Scurll. I don't think you'll see him. I don't think you'll see Dem Boys. I don't think Mark or Jay Briscoe will be involved, or Flip Gordon. I don't think Matt Taven. I don't think Jay Lethal. I don't think Bandito. So the idea that Ring of Honor might still be working with the NWA, hey, it's a possibility. And sure, it would be nice to see the tag titles defended on the show, or at the very least have the champions do the time-honored tradition of losing the titles to a future tag team that the NWA has designated. But look, I just don't see that happening. I don't see anybody with Ring of Honor appearing on this program. So with that being said, who will be on the program? Well, like I said, we've got the champions. We've got James Storm. I also believe that you're going to see Tim Storm return to the program. We're going to see, and these are just assumptions, guys. I don't have the answers. These are guesses. Educated guesses, but guesses nonetheless. Jocephus and the 3%, the Kingdom Knights. I'm pretty sure you'll see his return to the NWA. And then let's be honest, who has been working with the National Wrestling Alliance in the past? Now, like I said, with the Crockett Cup, you had a lot of Ring of Honor tag teams on the bill. I don't think you're going to see them. So someone like Bram, who teamed up with Royce Isaacs, very good chance that they could appear in some capacity on the NWA program. Jax, Dane, and Crimson also, I'm not guaranteeing that they'll be on the show, but if I had to make a large bet on it, I would feel confident in that vote and that guess. Who else? Well, there's chances that the people who've kind of associated with the NWA brand over the years, could Peter Avalon appear on the program? It's quite possible. Looking at some alumni from the big NWA World Championship match in China, I would think that the Reno Scum, who are the United Wrestling Network TV champions, would be perfect for the NWA, especially if the plan is to still recognize the tag team titles. I would think maybe Heather Monroe would be involved, considering her time working in front of the NWA officials. But who else? Well, funny you should ask. A lot of people have actually taken to Twitter, and by a lot of people I mean actual pro wrestlers, who have raised their hand to answer the call of the NWA. And some of these names you might be familiar with, some of them you might not be. The Twisted Sisters, that would be Holidead and Thunder Rosa, have both again made it official on Twitter that they'd be interested in joining the ranks of the NWA, which would be a big boost to the women's division, because as of right now it's Sienna and really nobody else. The other names that have been interested, the aforementioned Reno Scum, Adam Thornstone had said that he was interested, and I'm assuming that includes Lester the Legend. And on top of that, Chance Prophet. Now, some of you guys who are new to the NWA don't know who Chance Prophet is. Maybe you saw him on Ring Warriors, but Chance Prophet is a two-time NWA national champion. Back when Adam Pearce was world champion in that era of the NWA, had a lot of opportunities and within the NWA. He would be a guy who I think would really kind of fit in as something different, something unique, something that's kind of a throwback to the older NWA fans. And I don't mean like Jim Crockett era. I mean from a few generations ago. The Greek God Papadon, who a lot of the East Coast wrestling fans should be familiar with. He's thrown his name into the hat. We saw that an independent wrestler, I'm not familiar with him, but I've heard great things about him. Mancer has thrown his name into the hat. David Starr, who challenged Nick Aldis for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship at IPW last year, has put his name into the hat. So again, there's a lot of people coming out of the woodwork who are interested in working with and for the NWA. And of course, anytime there's an opportunity to get your name out there, you're going to see it. Some of the things that I'm concerned about, though, is, there's been a rise in professional wrestling since All In. And you could see guys who, the WWE continues to sign top tier talent. All Elite Wrestling has been signing a lot of would-be free agents to their brand. Impact Wrestling has exclusive deals. Heck, they signed Willie Mack from out underneath of the NWA. And then you look at, like I said, Ring of Honor guys should not be available for this. Again, something could be worked out, I'm sure, but as of right now, no. And then you've got, Major League Wrestling, which has locked up a lot of other guys who would have been perfect for this opportunity to work with the NWA. So it's really going to have to be a wait and see. But just based on some of the names that are interested, I think that's you're off to a good start. I see potential challengers, potential wrestlers joining the brand, like Casey Carlisle, who's a former NWA Women's Champion. Going back to Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, I think Erica Watts would be a perfect addition to the roster. I think Bad Dude Tito would be another guy who would be perfect for this show. Again, there's a lot of free agent names out on the market, but there are a lot of good quality talents that are not going to be available. The trick of all of this is to build new stars, and I think you're seeing that with a place like MLW. They're putting their stock into Hammerstone, Davey Boy Smith Jr., the Contra. They're building these names up. You look at even Impact Wrestling, like some of the top names in wrestling right now are there. Tessa Blanchard, Brian Cage. These guys have, women and men have built some stock over the years. So the difficulty with the NWA is being able to identify the next big thing and then being able to take advantage of that star power that they have. So it's going to be interesting. Obviously, we're not going to see anything right away. If they film in September 30th for their first show, they're talking about the TV show not airing until the end of October. And, so far there's been no network announced for sure yet, unless something was announced that I missed. I know that there was talk with Turner Sports, but with All Elite Wrestling appearing on TNT, I don't know that Turner Sports is going to go all in, pardon the pun, with wrestling and showcasing another wrestling product on one of their sister stations. I've heard someone suggest WGN, which, sure, that's great, but is the interest there for WGN? I mean, this is the problem with wrestling, and the WWE finds it very easy to get multi-billion-dollar deals to go to Fox or to stay with Universal. But this is different, and although the NWA has a long historic tradition and history, we have to keep in mind this is year 19 of a 20-year deal. This is very preliminary for the NWA, and even though it's heralded with legacy and tradition, it's still more or less a startup company. Now, nostalgia is a big deal, and that could lead to some pretty big things for the NWA. But at the end of the day, it's still just starting. It's still just kicking off. So, what I don't know about running a TV network is pretty much everything. But what I do know is that if you build it and an audience is there, somebody will air your show. We just saw today that Tube TV is now carrying Lucha Underground. Now, Tube TV is a app that provides entertainment, television entertainment on your smart device, your phone, your tablet, whichever, and they make their money by advertising dollars. Now, I don't know what Lucha Underground gets for being on that show, but I don't think they're airing their show on that channel, on that resource, for free. So what does the NWA do? Well, they have YouTube. They're earning revenue from YouTube. 10 Pounds of Gold not only has been the voice of the NWA, but it's also been a means of creating advertising dollars. Every time you watch a video, you click on an ad or you watch the ad, the NWA is generating some sort of revenue. Now, I don't think they're making billions of dollars off being on YouTube, but if they don't have a home yet for this program, there's nothing wrong with airing on YouTube until they find one. But that all remains to be seen. You've got Impact Wrestling airing their show not only on their own personal network, but on Twitch. Dave Lagana is a big Gary Vee guy. If you guys don't know who Gary Vee is, you should check him out. But he's always talking about innovating the way that people consume product. I would not be surprised if the NWA program was made available on TikTok. If you guys don't know what that is, Google it. I would not be surprised if the program was made available on YouTube, if it was made available on Facebook TV. Or is it Facebook Live? I think it's Facebook TV. Facebook Watch, that's what it is, Facebook Watch. Why not go with Amazon Prime? Amazon Prime in the past has featured professional wrestling. I think it was the, what was it? The Dojo Boys. I think that's what it was called. But if you can build an audience, somebody's going to want to feature your show. Even if it's only on Fight TV for now, it's still something. And obviously, if they can cultivate an audience, if they can cultivate a fan base like they have for the 10 Pounds of Gold, I really think the sky's the limit. Now, again, it's all going to come down to establishing stars and establishing, again, that trust with the fan base. But if you've been following the NWA this far, you're probably pretty locked in. So we'll see. There will be an uphill battle. This isn't going to be a cakewalk. There are a lot of alternative wrestling promotions out there right now, but given that Billy Corgan is invested, that Dave Lagana is got a very creative mind for pro wrestling, that some of the talent involved, again, I think the world of Nick Aldis. I absolutely love Eli Drake. And if they can get guys like Jack Stain involved, if they can bring in Reno Scum, if they can, bring in Crimson, I really think they'll have something unique. Now they're just going to have to also, again, find some stars. But all in all, this is great news. This is great news. If you're a fan of wrestling, it's great news. It's more options, more alternatives to, traditional pro wrestling. So, gear up, get your Diet Pepsi ready, pop some popcorn, sit back and relax. If you can be there in Atlanta on September 30th and watch history being made, I really think you should try, because at the very least, this is historic, guys. The NWA, the granddaddy of them all, the National Wrestling Alliance, celebrating its 71st anniversary with a potential TV deal, TV show. Who knows, guys? But I think that we're in store for some pretty cool things. As always, you can follow this podcast at alliance-wrestling.com, which is your number one source for news and information for the NWA. We're on social media, all the cool ones like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. That's at the Alliance blog, so check that out. Hit like, hit subscribe, hit follow, friend, all that fun stuff, so that you can stay tuned to some of the best NWA content on the planet. Speaking of NWA content, check out our friends over at the NWA podcast. I'll put a link here in the bio, but make sure you check out what they're doing. I hope to be partnering with them soon and making their podcast available on this website. And speaking of websites, did you guys notice that the National Wrestling Alliance.com is active? It looks like they have a subscription-based, I don't know if it's a newsletter or what that's going to be, but you should try signing up for that so you can stay in the know with the NWA. Of course, if you're following this site, you're going to find that information out regardless. But that's going to do it for us this time. I'm J Cal. This has been J Cal's View, a presentation of alliance-wrestling.com, and I'll see you at the matches.